I've had an experience of a parent telling me, Susie, I've just found my girl watching porn, and the best thing she thought is, let me just allow her to continue watching it up until she'll get tired and she will leave it. How better do you think that situation would be handled?
I think the most important, biggest impact is start a relationship with your child early. Talk to them, let them know you're a safe person. Bringing shame into it will actually make them hide, and that's actually why the problem becomes a problem. What you can do early on is talk to your child about what is a safe picture. So now, no child should be exposed to anything where there are naked people doing anything to each other, right? So it's a simple way of just saying, so if you see pictures or videos where you see people with no clothes on, you come and tell me, because that is not safe for you. I'll say that there are people who say it can spice up a marriage. I will say that from the research I've done, especially looking at what therapists, marriage counselors, for example, will say, is it really depends. It's a very, let's just say, it's extremely risky.
Hello, good people. Susie Ledadam, living positively regardless. Doesn't matter the point at which you are in life, but we rock positivity all the way. Thank you so much for keeping it here at Susie Yule Diadem, and I hope you're getting to learn. We are all learning together, we are all growing together, and we also glow together, because life is not too serious, neither is it a joke. So we just have to get a balance into this. Guys, you already know, when you see me smiling on camera, you know I have a guest around. And so today I want to introduce you to our guest, and then I will let you know what it is about today's show. So, hi, meet my guest of the day. Hello.
Hi,
How are you?
Fine, Susie.
Good to see you.
You too.
And good to have you here.
I'm happy to be here.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
I just want to welcome you to look at the camera, meet my people, let them know who we have in the studio.
My name is Priya Satow. I am a parent and I am a health educator, and I'm here because Susie has invited me. I really appreciate being here today.
Wow. We want to understand how our brain function and what are these aspects in our lives that affect our brain functionality, and most importantly, to our children when they are growing up, what is this that affect the development of their brain? I know you're interested to know what we are going now to discuss today, over and above what we said last time. Keep it here at Susie Ledadam, because you're going to understand everything. So, Priya, I don't want first of all to get into our day's topic. I want first of all our people to get just a bit of you, to interact with you and to know where you've come from, what life has been for you growing up. Yes.
My life is a little bit complicated. I grew up in India, a child of a woman from England, a mom from England, and a father who is Japanese American. They were medical missionaries. They were a doctor and a nurse. I grew up in a very rural area of India, very Shamba. And then I went to the US for my university and for my master's degree. And then I moved to Tanzania and did HIV/AIDS work. And that's where I really started to become passionate about talking about things that had a lot of stigma around them.
Okay.
And as a public health person, I'm very interested in sharing information, in making it accessible, And that's what I've become passionate about. And that's why I'm here today. After Tanzania, I was in Burundi and then to Kenya.
Okay. You've traversed the world.
Yes, I've been in East Africa around 22 years.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, beautiful. And finally now you are here in Kenya.
Yes.
Ah, beautiful. How do you compare life growing up in India? Have you been able to interact with the children growing in Kenya?
Yes.
That you're able to compare how it is growing up in Kenya and growing up in India?
Very much so. Although, given my age, I grew up before internet. I grew up with no TV, no radio, no movies, really.
Oh,
as a child,
is it?
I grew up more Shamba than most Shamba kids.
Really?
And kids in Kenya, I think like kids everywhere now with internet, it's very... the world is much smaller, so kids are more similar. They're accessing similar things. They're seeing similar cartoons and movies. So there's not as big a divide, as big a difference. I'll say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
The topic of today, guys, we are talking about the effect of watching pornography, and this is an area that actually, as I'm mentioning it, I'm feeling like I'm committing a sin actually, and because it's an area that we don't want to talk as much. How did you find yourself that you want to talk about this whole topic, which we are all afraid of speaking publicly?
That's a really good question. It began a few years ago when I was actually picking up one of my daughters from a birthday party. At the time, she was 10. And a mom at the birthday party said, "Oh, I hope this one boy is not here." So I was thinking, why does this mom have something against this kid?
Okay.
And when I asked, she said that boy at the last birthday party he attended, he told all of the kids to go to a porn site. And I was completely shocked. You know, these are young kids. And so then those kids, they didn't know what they were doing. They went home, they looked up that site. And so now these parents had their kids are looking up pornography. So my child luckily was not at that birthday party. So she had not seen, she didn't know anything. But on the way home, my daughters were 8 and 10. I thought I want to be the first person they talk to about this. So knowing that now their peers have already seen, many of their peers. So on the way home, I still remember that evening very clearly. And I just said, "Have you girls heard of this one word, porn?" And they were clueless, thankfully.
Okay.
"No, what is it?" So I explained very delicately what it was. And you know, typical kids are like, "Oh, that's gross. No, we've not seen that." I said, "Okay, so I want you to know that some of the kids in your age, they've seen it. And I want you to know that it's really bad for you, especially it's really dangerous for your brain. And so if you ever see it, or if you want to ask me anything, please come to me. And I'm here for you. Don't feel shy. Don't feel ashamed. Let's do this together, but don't look up anything about the body. Come to me first." So after that first experience, I was like, I need to learn more about what it does to kids.
Okay.
So I began like over a year of really researching the science. And the more I knew, the more my heart broke.
Okay.
I had no idea how damaging it can be, especially for a kid. And having 2 kids of my own, you know, I just really felt like parents need to know about this. We're still very innocent in many ways. We don't know how quickly the world has changed. We don't understand how easily accessible it is and what it does to the brain of a child, and then in the future what it does to their lives and what it can do to their lives. So that's how the journey started. And fortunately, my background is in health behavior and health education. So I thought I need to make a way for this information to be accessible and for parents to hear about it. So that's the journey.
Oh, beautiful. How is the journey so far? Are people able to get into these? Are they appreciating it?
It's amazing. I feel like I've become a missionary. You know, any opportunity I have to talk about it with Uber drivers, with random parents, anyone. when I raise it, the topic, people just say we this is a problem. And everywhere I've gone, I'm surprised at how sensitive and yet how everyone feels like it's an urgent problem, but no one is talking about it.
Yes, yes.
So I am happy to be the person to talk about uncomfortable things, because it's impacting our children, it's impacting relationships. And if you love people, which I do, then I want it to be something we bring into the open, because that's where things thrive, is in darkness.
Yes, I congratulate you for that bold move, because actually it's a topic that is not so widely discussed because we just feel shy about it.
Yes.
And maybe I will still come back to where you're saying you introduce it to your child yourself, you let them know what it is. I know you let us know how do we do this, because sometimes you wonder, is it not too conk for me as a parent to introduce to my child? But then the last time we discussed about our mental issues, and we were talking about drugs and addiction, and we learned that actually drug addiction is not a moral issue. Actually, it's a mental problem. I would want to pose the same question to you. When someone or a child is addicted to porn, does it have anything to do with like it's a mental disease, or it's a moral issue?
An addiction it's a coping mechanism, and it's if a child is addicted to pornography or has a problematic use, it is not a moral issue. And I think that's where the biggest disconnect is. And I really appreciate your question, because I think parents feel that their child is a failure, or that they are a failure as a parent if they find out that their kid is watching porn.
Okay.
There's a chemical process that happens in the brain very similar to, if not identical to, cocaine use. So pornography is considered a supernormal stimulus, which means, for example, let's say that regular sex is a stimulus. It makes us excited. It releases a neurochemical called dopamine.
Yeah.
Right? So it makes you feel good. Now, a supernormal stimulus does that, but at a heightened, unnatural level. So your brain is not used to that level, and your brain wants to stay at a balance called homeostasis. If the brain gets too much dopamine over time, it starts to panic because it wants to go back to a balance. So what happens is the brain gets this overstimulus, because pornography is, for example, a sexual encounter has a limited amount of time.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And with pornography, especially with internet pornography, which is a new phenomenon in, let's say, the last 20 years, it's continuous. You can keep seeing it. You can see new videos. So the novelty and the constant availability are not normal. Sex doesn't work that way. When you eat a meal, you get dopamine, right? It feels good. But when you eat now processed foods with high sugar and high fat content, your body thinks it's food, but actually it's an overstimulation. And so you're getting high levels of dopamine that the brain is not used to, and the brain does not want. So what happens is your brain has to handle all this extra dopamine. It cannot. It decides the dopamine receptors decide to reduce themselves. They're like, we can't have this much stimulation.
It's too much, yeah.
It's too much. So what your brain does, it tolerates that amount. It removes some of the dopamine receptors so that it can go back to normal. But now what happens is the thing that used to excite you doesn't anymore. And so same with pornography. You might have started out looking at just maybe two people having sex, right? But over time, your brain is not excited by it anymore. It's called tolerance. So now you need to do something to make it excited, to feel that good dopamine rush. The problem is, over time, your brain just goes into, you become numb to pleasure. So now you might be married to the most beautiful woman, or you have the most beautiful girlfriend. That will no longer excite you.
Okay. Okay.
because your brain now needs extra. So we have natural dopamine, things like sex. It can be bonding, it could be hugging your friend, it could be laughing, it could be a good meal. These are all natural dopamine hits that we get in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even looking at a beautiful sunset can give you a dopamine rush, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you override it with too much, those things will no longer give you pleasure. And that to me is one of the biggest tragedies about something like pornography, is it takes away the joy from things that normally give us joy.
Okay.
And so it hijacks your brain. It's actually a chemical dependency.
Wow. Wow. Beautiful. Let me ask, how do children get now to get attracted to watching porn?
Another great question. There's really three ways. There's accidental, there's intentional, and then there's forced. So a lot of kids accidentally see it. So if your devices don't have, for example, settings to prevent pop-ups, a lot of pop-ups lead to pornography. So a kid could very innocently click, because a kid is curious, they see something, they click, and it can take them straight into pornography without them trying to see it, right? So there's accidental. Or it could be that they walk past someone who's watching it and they see it.
Yeah.
They're not looking for it. So a lot of kids see it accidentally. Intentionally is now usually around age 14 is the most common age for intentional searching. So your hormones are raging, you're learning about reproduction, you're curious, so you might search for it. Unfortunately, when you search, for example, you might search sex, or you might search breasts, or what a boy might search.
Yeah.
You don't just get that. First of all, you get hypernormal images, so they might be enhanced images of the body, or it will take you directly to porn. It doesn't take you to like ordinary things.
Yeah.
So a kid might or they might have heard about it, and just type in porn, and then they get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
It's extremely accessible. And then the other way is sadly forced, which is when someone else shows it to you deliberately. And that also very sadly happens quite often now. So it could be a cousin, it could be an older sibling, it could be even a parent. I've heard a story recently of a father deliberately showing their son. And that is forced. So now that kid has been exposed. And remember, we are all sexual beings, right? But a kid is governed by their instincts and their feelings. And so they're going to be curious. It's going to excite them. They might have a mix of emotions. I'm excited, but I'm horrified, because there's a lot of different types of pornography. So it could be that it's sex, but it's also very violent. So now that kid has these very confusing feelings, but it's really hard for that kid to now stop. And that's where sort of the slippery slope is for a kid.
Okay. Yeah, because like you're saying, a parent may want to introduce the children to it, thinking that instead of them getting it out there, why don't I just let them see? Then I will sit back and watch their reaction, so that I may be able probably to guide them. Or even if I don't guide them, at least they will not have curiosity of these things when they go out there. I'm just leaving it with them. Now, I would wish to understand, when these children get now, they already know their response, they are able to watch and all that. Apart from the aspect of where you are explaining, where you get like adopted to them, your brain now, you're not getting excited by other things. How does it affect this child development in their brain about other areas now in life?
Well, the impacts are huge. First, let's start with the brain, though. The younger brain is more it's called plasticity. So a young brain is, you can imagine a piece of clay. An older piece of clay, like mine, is harder, right? The young brain is soft. And so anything they learn quickly, and they learn well. Learning means seeing something, right? Or doing something. So now a younger brain that sees pornography, it's going to stay. Now, if you add to that, let's say you're a teenager, and if it's a boy or a girl, pornography usually involves masturbation. And as you get older, it always involves masturbation.
Okay.
So now you're combining an act with what you are seeing. That's learning. The more often you do it, it's now creating a neural pathway, a very efficient neural pathway in your brain. So it's like it's creating, imagine a path, imagine a Maram road where a car has gone once. It leaves a small print in the mud. Now it goes again. It will leave a deeper and deeper one, right?
Yeah.
Now, if that Maram road, if this been watered, it's softer. So it's the clay is softer. That imprint is going to be deeper. So the same with our brains. So for a young child, seeing and doing things, they learn good and bad. It's going to go into their brains deeper, which means it's harder for it to be undone. So a young brain, first of all, the chemistry of it, the addiction can go, it can happen faster for a younger brain, and which then is tragic because they are now it's a child who is now having to struggle from early in life, which is why it's really important to protect them. Now you imagine that if a kid is exposed to something really violent, or porn is objectification of usually of women, that what that child is seeing is shaping the way they're going to see the opposite sex or their own sexuality, right?
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of pornography, and so it is going to start shaping the way they view themselves and the way they view other people and what their expectations are going to be in sexuality as they age. So if they see violence, which is very common, they're going to expect it. A girl might expect to be violated, which is heartbreaking to me. Someone who is made in the image of God, right? Who deserves worth and respect. She's going to expect it because she thinks that is normal.
That is the way.
Because a kid, when they see something, they don't know if that's normal or not. They are going to think that is how you treat somebody. A boy is going to think that is how I'm supposed to treat a girl. And so it will really impact their expectations for sexuality, for intimacy. And since porn does not involve any kind of relationship or love, they will miss out on knowing how to have a relationship with someone. Right? So again, it's a fast track to learning, and the younger you are, the quicker you learn. Good things and bad. So that's why it's so important. A child who is exposed early is very unlikely to say, you know what, it's finished. I'm done with porn. Wisha.
I've watched enough.
Apana. There is always more. And as some people have seen in David's story, all it did was make it difficult for him to perform in a job. It hijacks you to the point you cannot stop thinking about it, right? Especially if you start young. I'm not going to go into sort of adults using it, that is another issue. But for a younger kid, it's really putting them in a very vulnerable situation because their thinking brain is not in charge yet. They cannot say, you know what, I need to stop. They can't. And you cannot blame them, you cannot shame them for it. They're exposed to, it's like giving a kid heroin and then saying, now please stop. It is not in that child's control anymore. And as parents, we need to remember that as we raise them, they're not yet fully in control of themselves. It's really hard for a kid. And so now when you blame and shame them for something that they cannot control. So
how will you as a parent maybe tell that, are there signs that you can tell my child must, because of course these things you don't use them when everybody is watching you, so you need to hide and get all these. As a parent, are you able to pick signs that are telling you your child is on this?
There are a lot of signs. One is if the child starts to spend a lot of time behind closed doors or in secrecy. If you see them on their device and then they quickly are hiding. I've had a lot of parents tell me about that, you know, show me. And the kid is like, please don't look at my phone. That's often a sign. Other signs are really withdrawing from things that maybe your kid used to love football. And strangely they no longer do. How? You know, a kid, if you love something, you want to pursue that thing. Or you love art, or you love to play with your friends. You used to love playing outside and suddenly you don't. What has happened? You know, find out what is that root. But what pornography will do is so does social media. It sucks you in, right? And in the end, you become very isolated. So withdrawal from things that normally you used to enjoy, not being open anymore, avoiding conversations, even avoiding eye contact, because a kid might feel shame. So now I don't want to look at my mom because I don't want her to find out what is going on, right? So withdraw from things they love, withdraw from interaction, and then secrecy, and then more sexualized language or sexualized play. So I have seen this personally. My daughters have been affected by it. Extremely aggressive sexual behavior from very young kids. That's not normal. How does that kid know that term? How does that kid know how to talk that way? What are they looking at? I recently had to have a conversation with a parent.
The parent, yes.
Your son said this to my daughter. How does he know that? He's 11, right? Those are signs.
Okay. Do you think some of the things that we watch, like I see nowadays, almost everything on our screens is sexualized. Anything we want to advertise looks like it's more getting to us if it has some sexual bit of it.
Yes.
Do you think they are concerned, or it's more to it? Does that one maybe help in introducing the mind of a child to these things?
Absolutely. That's such a great insight. What happens is, you know, our world's pop culture is so sexualized. Everything is. And kids are picking those messages up, even if they're not aware of picking them up. We are picking them up. And so as a parent, I like to step back and I'll say to the girls, why is that thing advertised with a woman sexually looking that way or dressed that way? Does that product need to be sold in a sexy way? It's olive oil. It can be something really basic, you know. And what message is that sending a girl? What message is that sending the boys? Why should a woman constantly be portrayed in only one way? What about her intelligence? What about her skills? What about her talent? And so for a boy, I've read a book by a woman she's actually leading the charge in this. Her son has grown up with a mom who has taught him to always look at something and be like, why is a woman portrayed that way? To a point that he cannot be around women who are degrading themselves. He's like, she's so much more. I cannot participate in this.
Yes.
She is worthy. She needs respect. She needs to be valued for her thoughts, her wisdom, all these other things, not just her body. And so, yes, I think the way our culture is going, so much is sexualized, and it's very difficult for a boy, unless he is raised well, to be like, what do you think this portrayal is doing?
Because I remember growing up, we were very curious to know, maybe actually boys were curious to see our panties.
Yes.
They were curious to know how do we wear this. Actually, we could not even hang them out where we know that our brothers will see this. But today, I mean, growing up, they are seeing them.
There's nothing secret.
There's nothing secret today. And I'm wondering, I've had an experience of a parent telling me, Susie, I've just found my girl watching porn, and she's in class 7, so I'm imagining that should be the age of around 12, thereabout. And the best thing she thought is, let me just allow her to continue watching it up until she'll get tired and she will leave it. How better do you think that situation would be handled?
First of all, I'm sorry for any mom who has to find that out. I'm also sorry for the kids. It's really tough to parent these days. And, you know, my parents never had to worry about these things.
Imagine.
Number one, we are sexual beings. And now when puberty hits, it's normal for curiosity. And curiosity in and of itself is not a bad thing. But there's a way to make it safe. Pornography is a really harmful way for a child to learn. And as I've said, it's setting up expectations, it's setting up objectification of bodies, and it's creating an environment where a child thinks that this is how I'm going to be maybe when I've grown up. This is what how my boyfriend is going to be with me, or my husband, or my spouse. She may not have the opportunity to see healthy, loving, respectful intimacy. And so to that mom, I would say allowing your daughter to just watch it can actually just lead her to an addiction. Very harmful self-image. For women and girls, it's often that they feel bad about their bodies because they are seeing enhanced bodies that have either been surgically or digitally enhanced. Now she's comparing herself. We are real life human beings. We all look different. We have different shapes and sizes. We are all worthy. And what pornography does, it narrows it down to a very small way of looking at human beings. And so to that mom, I think you need to have a conversation with your daughter. Does your daughter understand that this is staged? Do kids know today that often women in pornography, not only either they're paid, often they are forced. You have to act like you enjoy it, so it can be something violent, and she is told she won't get paid until she smiles.
Okay.
That girl, does that girl who's watching pornography, does she know that?
She may not know that.
Now she thinks she has to enjoy something that might hurt her. Right? And a boy might be like, oh, but I thought girls like that. No, she doesn't like to be choked. Choking is now the new sexual trend among teens. It can cause brain damage. Is that shown in pornography? No. She has to smile and act like she's enjoying having her air cut off, when actually you're cutting air to the brain. It can cause brain damage, and there have been cases where kids have died, right, from choking. But pornography makes it look like it's exciting, it's fun, and that it's enjoyable. Does your daughter, and I'm talking to the mom, does your daughter understand these things?
Yes, yes.
And so, for example, my kids, I've had so many conversations, they're sick of it, but I want to prepare them for the world, and when they see these things, they understand. It's not a question of if your child will see it, it's a question of when. So when your child first sees it, have you prepared them? Have you spoken to them? Do they understand that this is either forced or they're being paid? And that an ordinary real life woman doesn't have to look like that. A man doesn't have to have a certain size. Because boys are also starting to feel like I'm inadequate, which is heartbreaking. We are beautifully and wonderfully made.
Yes,
that's
yes.
what we are. That's what the scripture says, right?
Yeah.
We are fearfully and wonderfully made. So what pornography is doing is it's actually saying, no, you need to look like this. You need to be this way in order to find satisfaction. And that's not true.
And even that image that it is portraying we need to be, it's something we cannot achieve because that is not how we are created. It's so unfortunate because you have said, like you've put a David case and you're saying it may not, it may interfere with his work performance. I'm imagining for kids that means maybe even at school they may start now dropping in their grades and all that. And most importantly, as you are saying, the self-image, especially to a girl child. Now, I understand you saying that we need to introduce our children into this. Rather not introduce them, but let them know.
Yes.
Let them know that such things are happening. Are there other preventive measures that maybe we could put to help our children not to get into this?
I think the most important, biggest impact is start a relationship with your child early. Talk to them, let them know you're a safe person. Bringing shame into it will actually make them hide, and that's actually why the problem becomes a problem. So let your child know that you are available. There are simple ways, you don't want to introduce a young child to anything very explicit. for example, there's a book called Good Pictures, Bad Pictures. And it's to help parents talk to very young kids really early, because I've met someone recently, he was exposed at 7, right? Even kids as young as 5. So now, of course, a parent is going to say, I don't want to bring up a lot of details about this because it's not appropriate. What you can do early on is talk to your child about what is a safe picture. So now, no child should be exposed to anything where there are naked people doing anything to each other, right? So it's a simple way of just saying, so if you see pictures or videos where you see people with no clothes on, you come and tell me, because that is not safe for you. And what you do if you see it, you close your eyes. So in this book, the author says it's called can do. So see, close your eyes. You don't want that image to stay long, right? Because sexual images stay in our minds. That's just a fact.
Yeah, true.
So close your eyes, but you explain that the image is not good for you, so you have to protect yourself. So you can already prepare your child. So close your eyes. A is for adults. Tell a trusted adult. And now as a parent, you say, I am your trusted adult. Come and talk to me. Don't be scared. Don't be shy. N, you name it. Name it that is a bad picture. It's bad for me. So when a child can recognize and they name it, now they say, that thing is bad for me. I need to stay away. So name it. So CAN. Close your eyes, adult,
And
name it. Then you let me see. You tell your thinking brain to take control. Oh, sorry, you want to distract yourself, so you say, I want to look at something else. So when you close your eyes, you put another image into your mind. So I tell my kids, what is your happy image? Be prepared. So have an image. Maybe it can be me hugging my mommy, right? Or me eating my favorite ice cream. But you make something that makes you feel safe and happy. And what you're trying to do is you're replacing the thing you saw with a good image. It's actually something you need to do. It's a brain exercise. And then T is tell my thinking brain to stop and keep away. Because the child's thinking brain is not the one that governs them yet. It's still developing. So a grown-up might say, whoa, that's dangerous. Let me not look. A child really has to tell themselves, order your thinking brain to not look. So that's a simple way of saying, if I see something that is not a good image, something safe, these are some steps, right? So you can already have those discussions from a young age. But warn your child there are good pictures, safe pictures, and bad ones very early, right?
How early? How early is early to? At what age?
I mean, even at age 5, you can say, like, you don't have to go into details. Just say a safe picture is one that makes you feel good. An image or a video where people have their clothes on. And they're not touching each other, unless, of course, it's swimming or diving, where there you can see a swimsuit. But anything that's exposing the areas that a swimsuit covers. So you can see swimming, but if you see someone who has nothing on, or they're showing parts that a swimsuit normally covers, you come and tell me. And then you as the parent can be like, oh, actually, you know what? It's actually these people are doing a swimming competition. It's okay. Because see, they're not doing anything to each other. So, and then if you see the image, you can explain it. And maybe it's harmless. But that child will start to understand what is good for them and what is not. But if you shame them, they will hide. And once you hide, now you can start consuming content that's dangerous, and the child doesn't know.
Sometimes it happens that the child got introduced into it, they have watched it long enough, and now it's like they have become addicted. And as a parent, by the point you're coming to know, you can tell they are addicted to it,
Yes.
but maybe they're in denial, they're saying no mom and all this, or even if they accept, you don't know now how you're supposed to handle it. How do you help someone who is already addicted to it?
Well, one thing you'd find out, you may not know they're addicted, but you can start to say things like, have you ever, you can say by accident, but even maybe out of curiosity, have you ever seen images or videos where this is happening, right? And depending on the age, you can describe. Because, you know, say it happens to a lot of kids. So don't make them feel that there's something shameful first, because then they're going to be quiet. So say, you know, if you've seen it, it can be hurtful for you. Like what I said to my kids is, it can rewire your brain. So watching pornography rewires your brain.
Okay.
To me, that's terrifying, right? Something is actually doing something to hurt my brain. So that's how I didn't come at it as a moral or spiritual thing. Your kid might have watched it, especially as a teenager. They want to rebel. They want to break rules because that's a natural thing for a teenager, right? Yeah. So I'm going to do something naughty. They might have done something like that, but they don't understand that the damage it's going to do to them, right? So it's like a kid goes into a cave, they're being naughty, you can say, careful, they don't know there's a lion in there ready to devour them. And I think if a child understands that what they're seeing, even if right now it makes them feel excited, it might even soothe them because you're getting dopamine. It feels good. You're like, wow, I feel great, right? Like a drug. But in the long run, it's going to really hurt you. And so I came to my kids, I said, I love you. I'm your mom. I want the best for you in life. I want to protect your brain.
Yes.
I want to make your success as a person who can love, who can be loved. I want to maximize it.
Yes.
And that's why I'm telling you. I'm not telling you to shame you. I'm not telling you to make you embarrassed and because it's an immoral thing. Who I think the moral issue stands with is the people producing it
All right.
and promoting it.
True.
I have a moral issue with you. I have a big moral issue with you because you are shaping my child's sexuality. You are shaping how they see themselves. I'm not going to blame that on my child. I heard of a story recently where the parents found out their kids were watching. They took them to the pastor. The pastor screamed at them, blamed them. The parents, I'm in Pika. That is not going to solve the problem.
Wow.
What will happen is the shame will get worse, and shame plays a big role in addiction. And the kid is going to, because they feel bad, and the only way now as a coping mechanism to feel good is to go and watch porn because I get my dopamine rush.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like I want to repeat loudly that statement you're saying to parents. Don't pick a moral issue with your child. It is not my child. It is not about her. It is the people who are doing this, who are promoting them. So actually the approach is approach of love, that my child has been introduced to this.
Yes.
Because the moment I feel like my child is such an evil child, how did I bring this child to this? And now they are, I love that point of, you're not going to pick a moral issue with your child with something they have been innocently given to consume, because we are the adult who are supposed to teach. This child don't know. When they come to this world, they are learning everything. So we are the one to guide them. What is it that you want to watch? Do you think there's at certain point you would want to maybe someone to engage a therapy in it, or you think a child is able to, a parent is able to handle the child?
I think if it's very early, if the child has not been exposed too much, and again, it will be hard for you to know unless the child just says, "Mommy, I've seen this a few times. I'm feeling uncomfortable. What do I do?" Okay, if it's early, but most of the time, by the time if a parent is finding out, probably that child has already seen quite a lot, and in that case, I would say it's really difficult for a kid to heal and to not go back on their own. I think there is so much stigma around getting help. There is no shame in getting help. And if it's my kids, I will do what I can to help my child.
Okay.
If that means therapy, you get therapy. it's because what we've talked about, because a child's brain is so vulnerable. The younger they are, the more vulnerable they are. Addiction is easier in a younger brain. And I have met people. I met a young man who said, I started at 10. He used to play football at an estate, a bunch of boys, and he wanted to be like the big boys. So he would, after playing football, he would follow them. They'd put on a movie in the beginning, and then one of them would switch it to a porn video. He said, no one even told me. I didn't understand what I was seeing, but it hooked him. And this poor man, he is a young man now. He's very bright, but he struggles. He struggles in life. He struggles. He cannot have a relationship. He struggles with self-esteem. He struggles with getting a job. So if I can find anyone who can help my kid, I will do that. So parents, don't be afraid to get help. And please don't shame your child. Just say, I really love you. And I want to do whatever I can to protect your heart, your brain, and your future. And you know, shaming them is not going to help, even though I know, I get it as a parent, and especially if you're raised in a church, or any, you know, if you're a devout Muslim or anyone who has a deep faith, it feels embarrassing to say my kid, but don't blame yourself. And I think that's where the anger comes, is you blame yourself as a parent. You feel you have failed. A lot of parents today, they feel like, I want my kids to stay, to keep up with technology. I want my kids to not be left behind. And what happens, you give your kid a device. It's not your fault, but you may not have thought of the risks that come with doing that. And so I've met parents who say, you know, I wanted to give my kid the best. I gave her a phone at the age of 9, 8. I know a kid who was 3. When the parent gave them a device, thinking, I'm spoiling my kid. I'm giving them good things.
I'm showing love.
I'm showing love. I'm giving them things I never had. But with this device is a portal to everything. And so it's not only pornography. Research is showing that social media is extremely addictive. It actually has the same dopamine impact that lots of drugs do. So you need to weigh that when you give your child a device. So with my kids, I've not given them a phone yet.
Okay.
They've been teased. And then I say, you know what? It's okay. I'm protecting your brain. And my younger one now says, you know what? My parents are trying to protect my brain.
Wow. And
that's why I don't have a phone. They understand, the older they get and the more educated they are, they get it. And they can see behavior change in the kids. The girls are feeling, at a young age, feeling they have to be sexual. Why? You're a child. Enjoy playing outside, enjoy getting dirty, enjoy fighting with your friends, playing football, climbing trees, playing board games, right? And that childhood without a screen is developing social skills. It's developing your brain.
Come on.
Learning games, not a video game, learning how to play a game with touching, being tactile. These are skills that human beings have had for millennia. And this is the first generation where you just touch and you're interacting only with the screen. So you're meeting kids who don't know how to engage. They don't know how to say hi to a grown-up. You say, hi, how are you? They give you like a,
you're wondering,
right? But that kid is missing the opportunity to learn basic social skills. And so a lot of young people are really struggling. And what does that mean for the future?
I love the idea that you're bringing out about, if you see your child doing something, it's not about, I mean, they're asking you for a phone. It's not like, no, you won't have it. And then they don't know why you're not even giving it to them. I love the fact that you made your child know you're doing it because you love them so much. You know, again, there's a way we grew up when you're told, stop doing this, but you don't know why you're stopping. So you still want to do it. But once you get it from, because even a parent will say, I will not allow you to use a phone until you complete your studies. And they even don't know, by the way, is she just mean? Why mom is not giving me? But the moment the approach, I like, it's about the approach. You let them know the reason I'm not going to give you, it's because your brain is developing all these from a point of understanding. I love that
and
point.
From love.
And
I'm
from
doing it because I love you, you know, not because I'm punishing you. You had asked a question about what else other things can parents do? But number one,
Prevent it.
build a relationship, educate them early. It's not only pornography. Social media is toxic for kids' self-image, and it also is addictive. So they're going to withdraw. They stop exercising, they stop playing, they stop interacting, right? So we have to be really careful educating them. But then you can also take practical steps. So the devices my kids have, of course, when COVID came, a lot of online learning happened for some families. So I have Family Link. It's Google and it's free. So the amount of time they can access their device. So I can put a limit. So if it's schoolwork, I can say, okay, 1.5 hours of screen time today.
Okay.
And then it shuts. And my older one gets so annoyed. Even now, she's like, Mom, please add time. I've not finished my project. So I add. I've put it on the strictest settings. So it's really, it's possible accidentally they could see something, but most content, she sometimes says, I'm not even able to see this thing because I've set it to the highest.
Okay.
So I'm preventing accidental. That's how you prevent accidental, right?
Okay.
But I'm preventing intentional by talking to them.
Okay.
Alini Ambia, I don't even want to see this stuff. I don't, because I've explained what it is.
Yeah.
And my fear is that, I have to tell you the story. A few weeks ago, I spoke to a young woman and I told her what my passion is. And she says, do you think it has an impact on sexuality? I said, that's a really good question. I think the research is still out. However, if I were a young woman today and I saw there's a genre of pornography that the intent is to humiliate the woman so that she's sobbing on the floor crying at the end. That is the end result. Okay? If I see that as a young woman, I will be terrified to ever be intimate with a man.
True.
I do not blame a young woman who says, I don't want to go near a guy. So I was talking to this young woman. She had just finished uni. And she said, you know what? In university, 2 of my friends, my girlfriends, they had their first sexual experience. And they came back. They said, never again. It was so violent and painful. They actually said, from now on, it's just the 2 of us together, the girls. They don't want to go near a man. Right? And that is so sad. That men and women are missing out on really wonderful relationships.
True.
Because they think, the man might think that's what I have to do to perform, or I have to act that way or look that way. And women think that's what's going to happen to them. I wouldn't want it to. I'd be terrified. So, for young men too, I'm sad because girls are going to be scared of you. And boys think they have to be a certain way. My other issue with seeing pornography is it takes away the ability for a boy and a girl, a young man and a woman, to explore sexuality themselves.
Yeah.
They're being told what to do by what? Who are these people in California telling me how I'm supposed to be in bed? No. Figure it out. Figure out what makes her happy, what gives her pleasure, what gives him pleasure. You don't need a manual. Never in history did we have a manual to have sex. It's natural.
Yeah.
It's God-given. It's supposed to be beautiful, right? It's supposed to be amazing.
Yeah.
So don't look up a manual. Let
Learn
you
for yourself.
learn for yourself. Let you and the person you care about. It's supposed to be mutual, right? And it's supposed to be something intimate and good.
Wow.
Not something you're supposed to be scared of or stressed out about. There should be no stress.
True.
It should be natural and good. And I think for my kids, my daughter asked me, so Mom, the way you've talked about porn, is sex always painful and bad? And I was like, how sad that's what she picked up. I said, no. Sex is supposed to be wonderful.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be good and something beautiful.
Yeah.
Not scary, not violent, not dangerous, not humiliating for both parties, right?
Yeah, true.
So I want her to know that, because you're getting such a warped idea of what intimacy is.
Yeah, so you're confirming it's true. It does affect our sexuality. Yes,
it
I can imagine,
It
because
can.
now you see, like, those ladies felt like they are safe with each other as women,
Yes.
other than just having a
Yes.
man. And for sure, they had an experience. And you see, probably the men who handled them have watched every kind of video in
Right.
porn, and that is the best way they know.
And it makes me feel sad for those young men,
I know.
right?
Yeah.
They are missing out on
Beautiful.
we as human
relationships.
beings are built to know and be known. And pornography doesn't allow that. There's no knowing. It's using somebody and being done.
Yeah.
And so young people are missing out on what it is to be known by someone, know you as a human being, right? Not just use, abuse, and done.
And done.
That's not intimacy. It's knowing a person, knowing who they are, and loving them. And the reason this touched me so much was the first thing I thought when I heard that kids were being exposed, I said, are my daughters ever going to know true intimacy with someone who respects and loves them? Or are all the boys they meet going to be boys who have been raised on pornography? Are my daughters going to experience violence? I'm terrified,
Wow. Beautiful. And that's why now today we have this, so that at least we try help and tell our parents, when you are raising a boy, please raise a boy who will be able to marry our girls who we are raising also, that they will be also good women to you, right? Wow, guys, I cannot believe that we are wrapping this up. Oh my goodness, there is so much about this, and I don't know why of late I'm just loving about getting to understand how kids grow, what their brain is able to pick, and what is healthy for their brain and what is not healthy for their brain. So I have just loved the fact that we are able to sit and discuss this. And before we close this, I know you said that about adult we may not talk because it is a wide topic, but maybe briefly I will still ask. Because I've had people who say that pornography spices up marriage, where you are able to maybe watch it with your partner, or you just go and get they say you want to maybe to learn new things. You get a new thing and you bring it to your marriage. Do you think it's healthy for adults?
That's there's no one answer. I'll say that there are people who say it can spice up a marriage. I will say that from the research I've done, especially looking at what therapists, marriage counselors, for example, will say, is it really depends. It's let's just say it's extremely risky. Perhaps you can learn a few things. I think from what I've read, counselors will say it can become very harmful if only one of the spouses is watching.
Okay.
And I will say we need to be super aware that biology does matter. And I think for a man, when he's really aroused by watching another woman, it can start to impact intimacy with his own partner.
Okay.
And I also know this because I personally have known people where this has happened. And so now watching it together, maybe, and I've heard some people say if we watch it together, it gives us ideas and it makes intimacy more interesting. But again, remember that it's not only kids who are vulnerable. There are people who can consume porn and not become addicted. But now the younger you are, the more vulnerable you are to addiction. But there are many men who started as adults and have become have had problematic consumption, where they now find their partner, maybe you're a bit boring, or I prefer a different body now, or I want to, right? And so it can introduce, it can make things really difficult unless the couple is extremely close and very, very open in communication. I don't know many couples actually who are great at that. So if both partners agree, we know where we are, we know what we want, these are our boundaries, perhaps. But so many marriages, and I've just spent quite a lot of time with a marriage counselor, and she said what happens is the woman feels betrayed.
Okay.
It might have started okay, but now the man wants to push the boundaries. And maybe she's saying, I want it just to be me and you. And he's like, yeah, but now I find that kind of boring. Well, now we're getting into territory that can become painful and harmful for a relationship. So I cannot tell an adult what to do.
Okay.
Those are the things that I've learned, and there's been plenty of testimonials about that. Now, you might say someone might come onto your show and say, you know what, my husband and I watch it and we have great sex. Okay,
It could be good.
could be good, but I would say just you really need to understand the risks of where that can go. And there are countless cadavers of marriages out there where one partner has become so preoccupied with porn that they no longer can be intimate with their spouse. Just including pastors. I mean, I have met and I know a lot of relationships like that, and then bringing the lack of the sense of inadequacy, usually to the woman, not always, but usually then the woman feels betrayed or unloved or less. Is that how you want this
Because
to
I'm
go?
even imagining
Right?
the things you may be watching out there, and they look very good, and you want to try them, but they are not working for you because that's not who you are.
That's not who you are.
And also, it's kind of exaggerated from the other end.
It's exaggerated.
But we want to try it this way.
Right.
And this is
then you be
what is supposed.
disappointed, right? And then there's a sense of, then now it might even make you feel bad about yourself or your spouse.
Yes. You wonder why.
So, I mean, for me personally, I don't want to bring anyone else into my... I don't want to see other people, you know? But I realize couples are different.
We're different, true. Because also I also imagine another way that for me I would feel it's kind of weird is where you also feel like, as you're saying, you're introducing someone else. In that, if we are watching with you, then there's no harm even me watching. Maybe when you're not around, you went for a business trip, but we have been watching these things and we have been enjoying. So I can as well continue with these. And you see now it's kind of true to it. You have introduced someone else.
Yes.
Who is able also to satisfy you.
Yes.
Sexually, when your partner is not around.
And we see, erectile dysfunction, right? In men. And then there's porn-induced erectile dysfunction, which is a new phenomenon, which happens to young men. So young men can't even perform.
Wow.
They cannot get an erection because the only way they can get it is through watching porn.
Wow. Sad, right?
There could be, a beautiful naked woman next to them. Doesn't work. And then they have to say, we have to put porn on. Wow. So when I say it shapes your taste, it shapes your, even just the way you will be, it's powerful, extremely powerful. And I think, the people like, it's fun. Porn can be fun. It's nothing. Maybe, but you just really need to know what the risks are. And when you have erectile dysfunction due to pornography, the Viagra and these drugs will not fix it. Because it's your brain, it's a brain issue now. It's a psychological issue, dysfunction. Okay. And so now what's that going to do to the marriage? And what does that make the man feel? He now feels inadequate because right? I'm just like, I don't want to go there. I don't.
I'm even getting it.
And I think for an adult, you need to know the risks.
The risks,
and I think
yes.
Open communication with your partner is extremely important.
I'm imagining that this issue now the role shifts here, because you're saying that even this medication will not help you because your problem is not biological per se. We would say it's in the brain. So visiting a urologist probably might not be the solution. The solution is maybe going for therapy, or what is the solution now?
Yes. So now therapy.
Wow.
And that's a long process. Addiction is extremely difficult to overcome. And you never hear someone who say, I am recovered. You are recovering, but you are recovering for life. It's the same as an alcoholic. So they might have stopped for 15 years. But if they come near alcohol, it's still, they'll have a craving. Same with pornography.
Okay.
And so, do you want to even play with fire?
When you know already what is.
Now, you can there are people who say, yeah, I watch it sometimes and it's not an issue. Okay, lucky for you, good for you. But knowing the risk, and now especially for a young kid, a young brain, no.
Wow.
I wouldn't go there. So don't play with it. Especially if you're a kid.
Don't play with fire, because you already know what fire can do. You may be having water allowed, you know if it gets hot you are going to pour, but you already know it can, probably something may happen and you'll not be able to reach the water for you to put off the fire. So I think it is very, very important not to play with fire. Wow, Priya. Before we end this show, I'll just give you a moment. Maybe there's some areas we've not been able to touch you think are important for our viewers to learn, issues to do with pornography.
My biggest takeaway is, especially for parents, I mean, that's where I'm really focusing. Parents, build a relationship with your kids. And maybe you are struggling with porn consumption, and so that's something you need to also come to terms with. Take away shame. If you need help to get it, don't be ashamed, and don't shame your kid, because your kid needs you, and they need you to build them up. They need your support, they need your love. And really, a lot of people who struggle with pornography, not all, but many, they're going to it as a coping mechanism. There's usually another root problem, whether it's rejection, feeling abandoned, feeling unloved, lonely. There are a lot of reasons why people turn to pornography. So try to get to the root of that. Even within couples who are struggling, maybe they're thinking they want to spice up their sex life. Are you close in other ways? Do you have a fulfilling relationship with your partner? Are you close? Good sex is not going to fix it if you don't know each other, if you don't really know the other person and love them. And I think we're in such a hypersexualized world that we think that is going to solve our problems. Those problems are much deeper. They're about being known and being loved and knowing each other. And I think I encourage human connection with your partner and with your kids.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for creating time for us and for allowing us to learn about this topic. And I really, really appreciate and congratulate you again for being so bold that to say this one that people are afraid to talk about is what I'm going to talk about. And I hope, guys, you have learned, you have picked a thing. Please comment and let me know what you think about this conversation and which area you think you'd want maybe more clarity, because I believe Priya will be ready even to help us handle anything. And maybe, I don't know if you would want to share your contact if people would want to reach to you, maybe if they're struggling with the same, they need help.
For now, so we're starting a project called Freedom Within.
Okay.
Right now we have just the email address, but soon we'll have an Instagram and a web page.
Yeah.
But to email, it's info@freedom-within.org.
Thank you. For now, thank you so much for watching this video, and please continue watching our content. Let us know which other areas that you would want us to address. And I really, really hope that this season, parent, we have brought you content. And children, when they are closing school, equip yourself before they come home. Now you'll be knowing, now this is how I'm going to handle my child. For now, bye.
Bye.